welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, sir.
It
My
is
pleasure.
April 12th. We're filming today in our normal location in the library.
There you go.
So I want to go over just a little chronology because we've gotten some correspondence this week.
Right.
And I want to go over the chronology of why we got that correspondence.
Okay.
First of all, I think everybody probably, if they're viewing this show, they probably remember the quote that I was given when I filed a PIA for 7 general ledger detail account printouts. It's a general ledger report that is common for all accounting software.
Right.
The quote I got was $26.7 million.
Right.
And 105 million documents. Now, when that quote first came out, I believe you called a friend of yours,
Yes.
Rick.
Channel 6, Rick Sproul.
Yeah, and Rick was resourceful enough to go down and talk to the public information officer. I'm not sure what her title is.
The public relations, Mrs. Jackson, Claudia Jackson.
Okay, and Mrs. Jackson said that over and over, she said, we made a mathematical mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Over and over she said that. And, well, yeah, there was a mistake, all right.
Yeah.
So we met with them. We had a 14-minute meeting with their outside counsel and resolved that I should get my 7 general ledger detail printouts for a cost of 0.
That's right.
And that's what I paid. I paid 0.
Yeah.
We went from 26.7 million,
Mm-hmm.
one 14-minute meeting to 0.
Right.
So it was a very productive meeting.
Sure.
Um,
Well, I think they finally figured out the impact of that.
well, and it's strange. The Caller Times had this, said that we got that resolved. We reached an agreement on it. Well, our agreement was we'll take what we asked for.
Right.
And free was good.
Good.
So, I mean,
That was on that pink paper.
yeah,
What was that, Mother's Day or?
breast cancer awareness.
Oh, okay.
And then, strangely, the Star Telegram out of Fort Worth
Mm-hmm.
was running a series on Public Information Act requests.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm guessing they did a Google search on the most outrageous price ever given.
Yeah.
And I'm just guessing that.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
somehow the 26.7 million came up.
Yeah.
But Ms. Jackson had a different quote in here.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Oh, she's the Executive Director for Strategic Communications and External Relations.
Whatever that means.
I'm not sure. She said, rather than saying we made a mathematical mistake, like she told Rick
Mm-hmm.
on camera, she said Bennett's request was very, very detailed. No, it was for the detailed general ledger account printout
Mm-hmm.
for seven accounts, resulting in an astronomical price. That doesn't sound like mathematical mistake.
No.
I'm wondering how she reconciles this quote to what was on camera.
Well, you don't have to, it just sounds good at the time when you say it.
Yeah, I guess that's interesting.
Yeah.
But that was
it. Making a purse out of a sow's ear?
a silk purse out of his house.
Silk purse. Okay.
So anyway, their explanations changed a little bit over the time that Rick went out there and the time that the Star Telegram called them. But the point is that we asked for information related to only the bad debts.
Right.
Because we're focusing in on that and trying to understand it. The bad debts have gone up dramatically. The student enrollment has gone down.
Mm-hmm.
When we were looking at the budget a couple of years ago, I said, why would that happen? And we couldn't come up with reasonable explanations, so we thought we'd ask for information.
Yeah.
And it appears that they don't want to provide that information. And I say that because that $26.7 million quote, that wasn't a mathematical error.
No.
That was a roadblock.
Yeah.
They did not want to provide that information. And I say that because I tried to get more information. See, we're following the audit trail from the financial statements backward to the source documents. So we've got the financial statements, and we're asking for information that created those financial statements, and doing it in a scientific manner, going back from the general ledger
Sure.
back to the source documents.
Well,
But they didn't even want to give us the general ledger detail. $26.7 million. And we did a little research after we got that information. We have to go back one step at a time. And what we asked for next was, let me put it, after we got the initial information on those 7 general ledger accounts, then we noticed that they had $2.838 million written off in a 7-year period.
Right.
And I thought that was astronomical.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about astronomical numbers, I thought that one was. So we asked for the detail of that. And that was on December 10th of last year. So I sent in a PIA request asking for that. And there was some confusion. They sent me an email. They wanted to know where I got the numbers. And so I did an Excel spreadsheet with their audited financial statements and referencing each audited financial statements to show them where the number came from.
Right.
Now, that $2.838 million, that may well not be an exact number, because they may have collected some of the accounts that were written off. So that $2.838 million may be low.
Okay.
It may be a higher number than that.
Yeah.
And so we don't know. We have to get the information from them to find out.
Right.
So I received on February 13th, I think it was February 13th.
Well, see, that's still way past the 10 working days.
Oh, it's way past any reasonable period.
With the Christmas off. And,
Yeah, no, the statutes seem to get ignored there, and then we'll get into that in just a minute.
okay.
But I got what was supposed to be everything I asked for on February 13th. And we went in there, I think I paid for it, I don't know how much it was.
Yeah.
But we got the copies and brought them back, and I started putting them in order. I said, this doesn't add up. It doesn't equal the $2.838 million.
Right.
And in fact, 1 year was off almost $500,000.
Whoa.
So I said, I really want the rest of the information. Now, it was supposed to all be there. I was told it was all there.
Yeah.
So I get this letter, after I send in another request, I get this letter from Miss McDonald that indicates the college will also produce 2 letters that were inadvertently omitted from the response, dated December 10th. Well, they certainly were inadvertently omitted, and they accounted for, I think, 169 pages
Right.
of inadvertent.
Sure.
Now, in accounting, and that's my background, in accounting, you usually reconcile.
Sure.
If you're supposed to have $100,000 and there's 5 documents, you add them up and it should equal $100,000. Well, they apparently didn't reconcile to that $2.838 million, because this letter dated March 13th said they inadvertently left out two letters. But this is dated March 13th, and I wrote them to say that I missed a whole bunch of documents, or at least almost $500,000. That was February 15th letter.
Okay.
So almost a month later, I received a response, which is strange if their original response was supposed to have the whole universe of what I asked for.
Right.
Why did it take another month to figure out, oh, he is due some more? We shorted him a little bit. 169 pages. That seems odd. Now, it seems odd to the point that I'm thinking it may be intentional.
I would think so. I think inadvertent means intentional.
Um,
I'm gonna have to get a Del Mar College dictionary, which is a clandestine, they don't put those out either, so I'm gonna go read the Del Mar College.
and I don't know why they would not want to provide me with the information. This is the only account I've asked for, is the bad debt allowance.
Right.
And it looks as if they're trying every effort, including breaching the statutes, to not deliver the information to me.
Right.
And that's the way it appears. So I wrote the Attorney General and I said, here's the chronology. And I think it was a 26-page letter. I said, but we're not able to get this information, and it's coming straight off the accounting system.
Right.
It's not like they should have to hunt for it.
Oh.
It's coming straight from the accounting system. Now, and we did get a copy dated April 8th from the Attorney General that sent to Ms. Tammy McDonald, the Executive Director of Human Resources and Administration, identifying that I had filed a complaint, and I certainly did. I believe it was 26 pages. But I think, it's my impression, they don't want to give us this information. And here's a couple of examples of why I think that. We have turned up a couple memos related to a conversion of the accounting system in 2010. Based on my understanding of the memos, the conversion didn't go all that well.
Right.
Here's one that Dr. Lee Sloan wrote, and he itemized the accounts that did not seem to convert, that they couldn't find the documents for, and they had some turnovers, so they couldn't collect them. So he was writing to Dr. Escamilla that, hey, we just need to write these off, we can't collect them. CCISD, $25. Jim Wills County, $210. Nueces County COM, $4,051.70. These all sound like taxpayer-supported organizations.
I would think so.
$9,608.85. Can't collect them. Can't find the records. That's bothersome.
Well, particularly when you're looking at $70–80 million a year budget. I mean, you'd think at that level in taxpayers' money, have an efficient system to take care of taxpayers' money.
And that's a fiduciary responsibility.
That's right.
It's a requirement. It's not an option.
And Ed, I'll just interject this. I think that it falls back on our elected board members to do that. I mean, they're responsible in the end. I think that's where the buck stops. Not just with the president, but, they hire a president that's supposed to be able to get things done. And apparently, I'm not going to comment on that because it's not done. But I still think that they have been terribly remiss in this, and I'm hoping that during the next election cycle, people will pay attention to it.
And it is $300,000 a day that we're spending out there.
That's right.
And it's vital to the local economy that we have a good community college because of several factors. One, a dominant factor in Corpus is that we're the second most illiterate city in America. That's a horrible stigma that we've earned.
Right.
And we earned it through our CCISD, which is in the bottom 25% of ISDs in Texas.
Yeah.
So all that tax money we're paying for CCISD, including this fine building that cost over $100 million, about a half mile from me, it has earned us a ranking in the lower 25%.
Yeah.
So, and that ripples. So we're not educating our students, and it's not the teacher's fault. The fault does not lie with the teachers. It is administration. So we're not educating the high schoolers. They're dropping out. If they do graduate, many of them read at the 4th and 5th grade level.
Mhm.
So then they go to Del Mar to get either the GED or the remedial education, and that bumps our cost way up.
Sure it does.
We've already paid for that. We as taxpayers have already paid for that in our school taxes for CCISD and didn't get it. That's like ordering a double cheeseburger at McDonald's and getting one hamburger with no cheese.
And the bun.
Yeah, I mean, we got hosed on that one.
Oh, yeah.
Now, and so that's putting an enormous burden on Del Mar.
Mhm.
So we need, and I don't see that going away.
No.
We need Del Mar to be an outstanding community college. And at one time it was.
Oh, yeah, when I got here, it was one of the premier in the country.
Now, it's hard to judge, from my point of view, it's hard to judge what kind of quality we have in a community college. But let's look at some figures.
Okay.
In 2011, they had 12,071 students.
Mhm.
That has declined annually. To the spring of 2015, they have 9,992 students.
Right,
Now, that's gone down every year.
right. And they've shifted a lot of the demographics and so forth and who's taking what, because now they count every one of the dual credit students and so forth and so on in that number.
And that's a good point, because really, Del Mar's got less than 3,000 full-time students.
Right.
And the total budget's around $90 million, because there's about 12% or so that tuition is supposed to cover. So it's well over $300,000 a day to educate a declining population. And then, that's very confusing.
Yeah. Well, here's.
Because the costs have gone up every
Sure.
year.
Okay, well, here's another statistic that has cropped up according to their own financial statements at the end of each year. Okay? And I think it was 2007 or 8, Del Mar College in their budget was spending 58 point something % for instruction. And this last cycle, 2014, that's down to 38%.
It's horrible.
So that means that we've got a terrible administrative bloat over there.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
And you can tell that, or I can tell that, by the promotions, and then, like, Miss McDonald used to be in charge of human resources,
Okay.
and then she became executive director, and we've got some fellow in there as the director of human resources under her.
Right.
So, I mean, we're building layer upon layer, which makes sense in a growing organization.
Well,
And the only part of this organization that's growing is the administration. The students are shrinking, the professors are shrinking, the administration is growing. And it's like that $1 million plus per year that we're spending from Del Mar for advertising. Is that really working? If we weren't spending that, would those numbers be worse?
No, because like I say, I hate to compare the past, but when I got here 25 years ago, this was one of the best places in the world as far as community colleges went. I mean, it was ranked, I would say in the top 10, not 10%, but top 10 in the country. And we had programs over there like music and some others over there, the nursing program and all, which were second to none.
I'd heard that about the nursing program.
Okay.
It was outstanding.
Right, and I was right in the middle of that since day one, because I'm teaching the pre-allied health people, which includes all the pre-nursing students. And then all of a sudden, and then we had a president, a vice president of instruction, and a vice president of business and finance, and 2 deans, and that was essentially it. But now we've got directors of this, and we've got directors of that, and we've got, vice presidents of workforce and all this other nonsense and so forth. And it's just administrative bloat. And the thing does not work yet. It's going down the tubes.
Something's not working.
No.
I've never run a not-for-profit organization,
Right.
but I can tell you, when the student count goes down
Mhm.
18% in a 5-year period,
Yeah,
something's not right.
Right. Well, the thing is, and when I take a look at the presidents that I've had there, There were a couple of real good ones that buildings are named after over there. And their philosophy was, particularly Dr. Richardson, the one that the auditorium was named after, and he said publicly all the time, he said, I'm here to hire the very best instructors I can find, and then it's my duty to step back and get the hell out of the way. He said it just like that. And they know what they're doing. We're hiring them because they know what they're doing with these classes. And now I'm told almost on a daily basis, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a moron.
Well,
And these are not academic people. And then we got academicians in there for a while, and then all of a sudden here we've got people with PhDs in community college administration, and they're not academic people.
well, they
And
know a
need to
lot
get
about
back.
administration because it's going way up.
Yeah, well, that's what they learn, I guess, in administration school. Just bloat the hell out of it.
And another, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
another statistic is the debt per student ratio.
Mhm.
Now, at Del Mar, we were one of the highest debt per student. So that means that we had a lot of debt for each student. We take the total debt, which is hovering around $100 million,
Right.
divided by the number of students, and that was among the highest in Texas before
Before
the bond issue was approved.
Mhm.
After the bond issue, after they issued that debt, we will be astronomically higher than anyone else in Texas. Right, the debt per student. So, is that a problem? Only if you're not getting results.
Right.
And we're not. Our student count's gone down 18%. And I may have interrupted you,
No, that's right.
here's some more information I don't think they wanted us to have. A memo from Mr. Johnson to the president. Johnson's the controller up there.
Mhm.
Write-off of various accounts receivable dated October 25th, 2008. Total balance of accounts to be written off, $362,501.77. Well, that's a big number. That's a big number. So there's probably a lot of detail behind that. And here, let me show you some of that detail.
Yeah, it's handwritten too, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah,
That's
I'm
not
looking
even
for
on line paper.
I'm looking for the Excel spreadsheet, and I see a handwritten write-off of accounts per John Johnson. And
But they did have printers and stuff back in 2008.
this is just not impressive.
No.
And I can see why they wouldn't want that out in the public, but we've got it now.
Yeah.
And more memos, you know,
Yeah.
I use handwritten. I use word processors and spreadsheets, and they use handwritten memos
Yeah.
to write off hundreds of thousands of dollars. There's some more of it.
Handwritten.
This,
And not even on ledger sheets. I mean, you know, they're not lined or anything. It's just-
they're wandering around. And now we don't have all the information. All we have is what we've asked for.
Mhm.
And we have a big struggle getting just what we asked for. It took from December 10th till the end of March
Right.
to get this. And I felt obligated to file a complaint with the Attorney General with a chronology of why I thought it was taking too long and I was being roadblocked.
Well, and the Attorney General wrote back and said they agree.
Well, they sent a complaint to the college. Now, at the same time that I sent my complaint to the Attorney General, I did send one to the state controller, the auditor's department of the state controller. And that's a 26-page memo. And what I'm saying in that basically is that I'm having a real difficult time getting the information, but the stuff I get looks really bad.
Right.
We had a conversion, apparently, in 2010, and lost a bunch of data. Now, that's unheard of. It's just unheard of. And the memos, and that's the primary reason that we started looking at this, after we asked for the bad debt write-offs, Dr. Sloan was kind enough to give us a 5-foot stack of documents,
Right.
and in there were 3 that said $185,000. Third-party bad debt write-off.
Well, 54,000 some odd dollars to Texas A&M University Kingsville, and we've never had an explanation of that yet.
And they obviously don't intend to give it.
Well, I think maybe if the AG's office asked for it.
Okay.
But you and I are so far behind on our complaints to the AG's office. I mean, Ed has to make a living, and I have to make a living, and I don't have time to sit down 24 hours a day.
That's a good point. We're doing an awful lot of work here, and there's no compensation.
No.
In fact, it's worse than that. It costs us money.
Right. Well, the thing is, you know, as president of the Corpus Christi Taxpayers Association, and as the secretary and so forth, we want to know, folks. The reason we've got the Taxpayers Association there is to find out what in the world's happening to our tax money. And that's what we're trying to find out for you fine folks.
And here's where, to the state controller, I said, I documented disappearing Delmar assets. They're going away.
Yeah.
They're just disappearing. Now, that concerns me as a taxpayer. Now, would I be more concerned if I thought it was being stolen? Well, it's still gone.
That's right. I don't
So-
care how it's missing.
So it really doesn't matter what happened to it, it disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't a one-time thing, it wasn't an immaterial amount. These are big dollars.
Oh, yeah.
These are big dollars, and they just seem to evaporate, and then there's a memo from normally the controller, either to the CFO or to the president, saying, hey, we just need to write this off. Let me convey what I've seen in the past, and I'm not sure if the correlation is going to exist here, but I've done a lot of accounting work in the past, and when I go into a company and they have a mess in the accounts receivable,
Mm-hmm.
100% of the time, in my past experience, 100% of the time, somebody's stealing money.
Yeah.
That's happened 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what we see at Delmar appears to be a really big mess in accounts receivable. Now, it may break my 100% because maybe they're not stealing it,
Right.
but we do have an incredible mess.
Yeah.
And we can see that just by these few documents that we've gotten, and they're not many. They're not 105 million documents.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like we're getting all the documents related to accounts receivable. We just ask for the bad debt write-offs.
Yeah. All we want to know is where the bad debt's gone.
And in those documents that we've received, we see a trail of really bad accounting.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We opened the file drawer and couldn't find any documents, so we want to write it off.
Right.
Really?
Where did the documents go?
Yeah. Is there no source documents? And these accounts that you're writing off are in fact taxpayer-supported entities.
That's right.
They normally pay their bill.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we found the Navy for $39,000.
It's 42, 39, 42, yeah. And then the Coastal Bend Council of Governments, which has told me on the phone that it's non-taxpayers, and then you look at their financial statement, and it's all taxpayer money going in.
And I wrote them a PIA, and they didn't
They didn't
respond.
respond. That's $89,000 of your money out there, taxpayers.
That was one write-off.
Yeah.
I
And
think
there's
there's
another
more.
one. Yeah,
I
there
think
was
there's
another one
more.
for another 75 or something.
That's not the only write-off
And the
we've
question
seen.
is, how can they owe us that kind of money?
And how can they not pay it? And what's happening here? It's very concerning.
Yeah.
It's very concerning. And it doesn't matter if somebody's stealing it or not. The money's gone.
Mhm.
Those are our dollars, taxpayer dollars. Somebody's got a fiduciary responsibility to take care of that.
And I think that's the Delmar College Board of Regents.
It would start there, or stop there. Now,
Well, I'm not going to change the subject, just the title.
okay.
I am sick and tired of requesting things through Public Information Act request, and then being told that they can withhold this, that, and the other, and they can send it to their attorney, and the attorney can ask for an opinion from the Attorney General's office. But some of these, Ed, have just been blatant. We didn't get it back in time. Okay?
Everything takes a huge amount of time
Right.
that I send in.
Mm-hmm.
And it costs a lot of money because we know by getting the attorney's invoices
Mm-hmm.
that they're sending this stuff to the attorney to get an opinion on it.
That's right.
Now, let me use the 26.7 million as an example.
Okay.
That request was for detailed printouts of 7 general ledger accounts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now, how sensitive can that be? The detailed printout, it's on the general ledger.
Yeah.
Normally, a general ledger does not have any detail that's
Mhm. sensitive
sensitive at all.
Right.
Yet, how much do you think that one cost them? Right, we went from attorney to news conference,
Right.
and then in the end, what did we get? We got
Got it all.
we got the less than 200 pages that we wanted. And it was all a delay and a roadblock tactic.
Right.
And a mathematical error.
Right. Well, which was actually, that you asked for too much.
Yeah.
It was overwhelming. So which is it, Delmar College, through your PR person? Well, what got me was that Ken Paxton, on April the 8th, sent an opinion or a letter to Mrs. McDonald. And it says that they had received a complaint from you alleging that Delmar College has failed to respond appropriately to a request for information. And they assigned the complaint number to it. It says Public Information Act, Chapter so-and-so Government Code requires governmental body to release requested public information that it collects, assembles, maintains, or has right to access to, or to request a ruling from this office as to the applicability of exemptions to the Act. Our records do not indicate a request for an Attorney General's decision has been made in accordance with that section.
Oops.
Does that not say it all, folks? And then it goes down and says what they can do, and they say, since we'd like to work this out with Mr. Bennett and his partner, then what we're going to do is ask you to fill out several sections of a form to find out what in the world are you doing and when are you going to do it. Now another one was, I had some problems over there. I've got a department chair that's trying to, I guess, just have me fired. I'm not real sure what the motive is. I guess I'm asked too much. But I was curious as to why they had run a course out of sequence over there. What was the purpose of that? And I wanted to find out how much it cost to do that. So Ed kindly wrote a Public Information Act requesting the justification for that out of sequence majors micro class. Then also any documents associated with the cost of equipment supplies that have been or will be purchased for that course. And then any and all documents indicating that all students had completed the suggested prerequisites for that class. And then the cost of teaching assistants and so forth to go in there and prepare things that I do normally. And now they've hired somebody to take that over so that that professor does not have to go through all of that pain and agony to get all that stuff done. So what we got in response to that was a whole bunch of gobbledygook, okay? So as far as my request goes, they said that as far as the justification for the class, I got some off-the-wall stuff, or you did, okay? Then item 2, when I asked about this equipment and supplies, which you would think that they would have documented on each course that they teach.
That would be through the accounting system.
That's right, okay. That should be through the accounting systems. There were no responsive documents.
Mm-hmm.
So they can't tell you, taxpayers, how much it costs to run that class. I find that incredible. And then number 3, with students completing the prerequisites, it says responsive document provided for total student enrollment. Well, I already knew what that was. It was a whopping 14 out of 24 max on the class. And then it says no responsive documents that all students had completed the suggested course prerequisites. So in order to get enough to run the class, they were running up and down the street saying, hey, would you like to take this class? You don't have to have any prerequisites. You don't need any, that are published and suggested in the catalog as per Sanson many years ago. Folks, you've got to know a certain amount of biology and chemistry and stuff to be able to understand the class. And if you don't have the prerequisites, you don't stand a chance of passing it. And I'm going to ask for all the grades that came out of these people that did not have the prerequisites. So may as well out there, Ms. McDonald, I mean, you watch this show, I know you and the president and the board members and the attorneys and all. I'm going to be asking that question when those grades come out, okay? Because if they don't stack up with mine, then I got a hot flash for you. And see, I'm the one that's considered to be an amateur and substandard because I teach traditional classes and I have bona fide prereqs. And then it says the hiring of the person. Well, it gave a little blurb about who that person was. I don't think they had social security numbers or anything, but it gave how much money they were going to spend to have this TA go in and prep and teach the labs for a man that's already making full professor salary to do the same thing. I don't have TAs over there teaching my labs, folks. And like I say, I work my butt off over there, and I saved that college an estimated $120,000 a year, being over there weekends and making this stuff up. Now they're hiring a TA to make it up. And then they're buying a bunch of it pre-made. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm just going to say it, you're being ripped off at a very high level, folks, with all of the backing and the blessings of the department chair and the dean, and apparently the president and the board of regents.
Now, Doctor, I've never had you as a student. I was never one of your students, but I do have friends that were, and one of them speaks very highly of you, and she's changed her first name now. It's Doctor as well.
Yeah.
So I know from the successful students that you've had that the ones that do well after they leave your class greatly appreciate the way you teach.
All right. Well, what can I say? I'm here for the students, folks. I'm not here for this fabulous salary. I mean, it's a good living, but it's not, it's not anything like a president makes. I'm not in the six-figure category like the president, and then get $15,000 a year performance bonuses and a 10% increase in pay. The faculty members and the staff, and bless their hearts, secretaries and everything else, they get maybe 1% raise, and I don't think the faculty got one at all for about 2 or 3 years.
It was several years.
Yeah. So, we start the head guy over there at $150,000, and 6-7 years later, he's about $250,000.
I can't even comment on that. Because
don't.
I've seen the student count, the enrollment's gone down 18% in that 5 years.
And I've seen administrative costs at the same time go skyrocketing.
So, as an accountant, a financial analyst, that doesn't make any sense to me at all. It must make sense to somebody, not me.
What have you got there?
Well, you may recall this. Sorry.
Bumping that.
So, we were having difficulty getting information a long time ago.
Right.
And I took it upon myself well, really I didn't take it upon myself. I was led to the Attorney General's office because this is when the $26.7 million came out. And so I was put into contact with an attorney up there that was very, very receptive. And she said, just write me a letter. Gave me her email address. And in that letter I said, well, let me explain some other problems I've had. because this is very confusing to me. Okay, I've requested on 2 separate occasions to view a copy of the general ledger chart of accounts. Now, the chart of accounts is a printout. Every general ledger system, even QuickBooks, can give you a chart of accounts.
Okay.
So you press 2 or 3 buttons and you've got it. Ms. McDonald has sent me letters explaining the documents had previously been provided.
No.
She said, you've already gotten them. But she was kind enough to say, we'll give them to you again. Well, I go in again and they're not there. So when you and I went in there on one Friday, we were in a little office and I said, you know, maybe she doesn't know what a chart of accounts is, because I didn't know what her background was.
Right.
So I said, you know, let me explain what a chart of accounts is. She said, basically, I've got an MBA, I know what a chart of accounts is.
Yeah.
I said, well, why do you keep telling me that you've given it to me if you know what one is and you haven't given it to me?
Sure.
So I asked, and I told this to the Attorney General, I asked Ms. McDonald about the missing documents. She indicated to me that she has a business degree and it knew exactly what the general ledger chart of accounts was. However, she could only provide me with the information that was given to her by the manager of the department that she sent the request for the information to. Well, so that means that she probably sent it to the controller, Mr. Johnson. And for whatever reason, and I can't imagine why he wouldn't give her the chart of accounts, but for whatever reason, it never got back to her. But she told me that I'd already received it.
Right.
So, and she knew I hadn't. With a business degree, she
Right.
knew that I had not received it. Yet she told me in writing that I had. So,
Yeah, I remember that vividly.
so I asked for a little help on that with the Attorney General, and almost instantly I had a PDF that was in fact the chart of accounts.
Whoa, miraculous.
So it's not like they're putting up a roadblock for only the big things. They're trying to prevent us from getting information at all.
Right.
Right, the chart of accounts, really, it's a standard printout.
Right.
And, well, I was simply refused it and told that I'd already gotten it. So I could keep asking for it, but she was going to give me the same thing she'd already given me,
Yeah.
which was zero.
Nothing.
Until I got the Attorney General involved.
Right.
At which time I finally got the information that was under the law due me the first 10 days.
That's right.
In fact, I think that 10-day period is if you have to go research it.
Yeah.
With 3 keystrokes, they probably should have given it to
Well,
me.
here's the fallacy in Delmar College's Open Records Act request responses. If you go back and read the Texas Public Information Act, the Government Code 552, if the document is readily available, like if I walked in and I said, okay, I want to see the invoice for the coffee that was purchased yesterday, and here's the invoice here in the file cabinet, then if that information is right there available and can be instantaneously produced, they are duty bound to give it to you.
That's the way I understand it.
Okay?
And I've
And
read
that's the way I understand it. And I guess what I'm going to do is as soon as I get a little break, I'm going to go up and sit down with Attorney General Ken Paxton now and have a heart-to-heart with him about, can you please tell me what this really means, sir? Now, I'm not an attorney, thank goodness, okay? And I'm not a PhD in English, okay? And I'm not a writer, and I'm not a CPA, but I've had enough math to where I think I can understand what's going on all the way through differential equations in graduate school and statistics in graduate school. But I think I'm capable of sitting down and reading and trying to at least have some inkling to understanding what the hell it says. So I've read the Texas Open Meetings Act request. I've read the Texas, Public Information Act, and so forth. And folks, the blather I get back from this is not what I read in the law. And like I say, I am not an attorney, don't get me wrong. So I don't know if there's that much leeway and wiggle room in the current laws. I know that's what attorneys do. But if you'll allow me a minute, Ed.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now here's an example, and this really does concern me. Now for the past several years, I have been asking for the billings and the billing records and invoices and so forth, and the contracts that exist between Del Mar College and attorneys that they hire for legal advice. Okay? Now one of them happens to be Hoblet, Ferguson, and Darling. They show up every once in a while. So I asked through Public Information Act request on April the 6th for all of their billings and so forth, if they had any. And Mrs. McDonald sent me back this that said, thank you for your Public Information Act request. I'm sure that's a tongue-in-cheek with her. But it says, that the college has no responsive documents for the requested information from the law firm of Hoblet, Ferguson, Darling, LLP. Okay, they don't bill very often, I understand that. Then I've got another one here that I requested, and this one is for well, let me do this one last, just for grins, okay? There are three others, okay? Because I get a thing back from them. Okay, here's one that I did. Now, the one here is to, I think, Miss Cano, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. No, this is Augustin Rivera, okay? And he's with Dunn, Weathered, Rivera, and somebody else in Rivera, okay? Now, I'm requesting all the billings from October 1, 2014. Okay, I want to see them, and I want to just sit down and inspect them. So what I get back from that all of a sudden, and this is an all-time first, thank you for your Public Information Act request. I'm sure they're choking over that too. It says the information you requested contains a credit card, debit card, charge card, or access device number that is collected, assembled, or maintained by or for a governmental body. Now, can you tell me as an accountant what the hell that's all about?
Well, we hadn't seen that in any other invoice.
No. I mean, are they now billing through debit card, credit card, whatever?
They can black that out.
That's
They don't
right.
have any
They
problem
can
blacking
redact that.
things out.
Okay. All right. Our office is prohibited by law from releasing this information to you, and therefore we have removed, in quote, in parentheses, this information from enclosed information we are providing to you for review. Now, I haven't been over there to see this. This was dated on April the 6th. My request went in, what was that, in March 23rd or something like that. So they're within, March 23rd, so they're within the 10 days. Okay? Normally, we must request a ruling from the Texas Attorney General before we can withhold any of the information you requested. However, Section 552-136 allows us to withhold this specific information without requesting a ruling from the Attorney General. So there's Mr. Augustin Rivera. Okay? Then I asked for the same thing for Miss Cynthia Cano. She's the one up there out of town. Rivera and the crowd's here in town. But anyway, the same thing. The information you requested contains a credit card, debit card, charge card, and all the rest of this nonsense. But, so therefore, we're going to take that out, and then we're providing you with enclosed information we provided for your review. Then I asked the same thing from the Graves, Daughtry, Heron, and Moody. That's an Austin, big.
Best firm in Austin.
And it's expensive as all get out of it, okay? Now, it says in response to your PIA request of the college, they are seeking an Attorney General opinion for some of the responsive documents. On behalf of Del Mar College and under separate cover, you will receive a copy of a letter concerning the request of an AG opinion from the law firm of Graves, Daughtry, Heron, and Moody. Number 2, they have assembled responsive documents pursuant to your Texas Public Information Act request, with the exception of the documents that are related to requesting an AG's opinion. And then I did get that letter from Drainage Doctrine. Mr. Christian is the work guy that is with that. And it says that the college asserts that the requested information is accepted from the disclosure under Texas Public Information, so and so and so. So the college invokes section 552-101 of the Act in conjunction with the Attorney Privilege Fund in the Texas so and so. So now some of this information is going to be considered attorney-client. And I'll bet you $1 to a donut that a bunch of that stuff, since they're the ones that are handling the public, the information with the Texas Board of Nursing, which we are desperately trying to get, I'll bet you $1 to a donut they're trying to smoke screen and cover that up.
I don't think I'll take that bet.
So, I don't know, Ed, but these games that these attorneys are playing with you taxpayers out there, folks. Now, I don't take it personally, because I am the president of the Taxpayers Association, and I'm looking out for you good folks out there. But it burns me up, just like it would be my kid being picked on.
Here's my concern, Doctor. It's our money.
That's right. It's our money.
Taxpayer money. And, April 15th is right around the corner.
Yeah.
That's the federal tax.
Mhm.
And that hurts. And
Yeah.
when you have to pay in a sizable amount of money to the federal taxing organization, that hurts. But this is not only federal funds, this is state and local funds.
That's right.
So we've got three sources there that you and I are paying into.
That's right.
That's our money, and there is a fiduciary responsibility associated with being elected to that board, and in those job descriptions for the administrators. They have a fiduciary responsibility. Now,
To the taxpayer.
that's our money. They are the fiduciary. They're to protect our money. That's their job.
Right.
One of their jobs. Now, it bothers me greatly that they're blocking me and you from getting information that would allow us to determine what sort of efficiency is going on in just basically collections of accounts receivable.
Right.
If they're trying to block that information, then it would indicate to me that there might be a probability that they're not doing a very good job there, and they would prefer us not to find that out.
Will you be here, kind
And I say that based on some memos we found related to the conversion, related to write-offs. We opened the file drawer, there were no documents there, so let's write it off.
Right.
Hey, my Lord, if that were a client of mine, I would say there should be a resignation letter on the back of that. Please turn the page.
That's right.
These things appear to be horrible, and we have to remember, we don't have all the facts. And based on this, we're not going to get all the facts, which is why I wrote the state auditor. Now, they have some very qualified people up there.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of them have CPA after their name. They also have certified fraud examiners. And I have written them and included copies of documents that said, you guys are qualified, you need to come down here. And one reason you need to come down here is because we have unqualified personnel. And by that, I'll go from the CFO. The CFO, based on what I've seen, doesn't have one accounting course.
No.
And he's a CFO overseeing
Yeah.
$90 million of operating budget plus over $100 million of bonds.
That's right.
That's a lot of money.
Well, it's over 200 now.
Well, it's going to be. They haven't issued it.
Oh, it's been approved.
It has. Yeah, we approved it. And then
No.
we the taxpayer, we collectively.
Okay, yeah, all right.
And then we drop down to the next person in charge of the accounting over there, and that would be the college controller. And when he signs his name, it does not have CPA after it.
Right.
And that's bothersome to me because I am a CPA, but I know that you can get an accounting degree, and a lot of people don't pass that exam because it can be very difficult.
Yeah.
Uh,
You gotta know what you're doing.
but once you get the CPA after your name, you generally have a good idea of what you're doing in accounting.
Yeah.
You may or may not be an expert, but you have a good idea. And at the least, you know when you're over your head and you have to call somebody.
Right.
Now, another thing that really concerns me is that sign when you walk into the administration building, internal auditor that way. Well, there is no internal auditor, and there hasn't been for a long, long time. So we've got possibly a weakness in the credentials of the accounting staff, of the executives. And then the internal control system based on information that we've obtained, the conversion didn't go all that well.
No. Well,
We can't find source documents. That tells me that the internal control system might have some weaknesses in it. And then the compensating control would be a good, strong internal auditor, which hasn't existed for a long, long time.
Yeah.
So an analogy would be a ship without a rudder.
That's right.
And
Headed for the iceberg.
well, they're headed wherever that thing's going to go. And so I think that we need the state controller to come in and look at what's going on, look at some of the information that we found.
Right.
They've got much more power than we've got, and I suspect Delmar would be more cooperative with them. I'm just guessing that. If not, I think they have some. If not, I think they have subpoena power.
Well, it's like the AG said, that they've got civil oversight.
And you know, if there's nothing wrong, normally people give you information and you conclude real quickly that there's nothing wrong here.
Right.
I'm wasting my time. So far, we've fought hard, many hours, a lot of money to get this information. And the conclusion that I can reach by reading the information, the little bit of information that we've gotten, is that there's problems.
Yeah.
They have problems.
Well, and then you can, you sit down and talk it out. I remember years and years ago coming off of postdoc and working for industry. Had moved down to Texas, and the IRS said, hey, you need to come in here, we're going to audit you because you haven't filed your income tax returns for 3 years. And I said, oh, really? I said, that's strange. So I looked up my records, and I did have a briefcase stolen that had some of the records in there, but they didn't take one folder that I had. So I went marching into that inquest, as I call it, and they said, you never filed your income tax in this year. And I said, then wait a minute. Well, and I opened up my folder, and I showed them a copy of my refund check for that year. I said, then why did you refund this money if I hadn't filed the income tax? Well, you didn't file the next year. I said, well, here's the refund check from that year. And then here's the refund check from the third year. And they said, okay, never mind, time out. We're sorry we bothered you.
And that's a very good example.
That's right.
If the facts say, hey, we don't have a problem here,
Right.
reasonable people are going to stop wasting their time.
Sure.
And you and I are devoting a great deal of time to this, and it's primarily because of two things. One, it's taken a lot of time to get the information.
Right.
And two, once we get the information, there's problems.
Well, here's the way I look at it, Ed. I've got 2 daughters. And when I see that I pay taxes into the Delmar College district, okay, and that takes it out of the mouths and out of the pockets of my children, and then I see this waste and potential whatever, I won't go with that word, then that's stealing money from my kids and from me. And it just burns me up. And people say, well, why does that upset you? Because that money, which is mine, is now going down some rat hole somewhere.
And that's another very good point. We know there were problems in the past. Right? The 2010 conversion clearly didn't go very well.
Right.
And other write-offs because they opened the file cabinet, couldn't find any documents, let's write it off. That's a real problem. Now, those are all in the past, and we still want answers about that.
Right.
But we certainly don't want to repeat it in the future. And,
Well-
and if they're blocking us from getting the information in the past, have they made any corrective actions to prevent it from happening in the future?
I can't see it, it's the same players.
Well, and there is no internal auditor.
No.
The first thing I would do, and I would do it in a big hurry, is to hire a team of internal auditors.
That's right.
Because I'll tell you, one thing I know for sure, there's a couple of things I know for sure. One is it's costing $300,000 a day to run that
That's
operation.
right. Mm-hmm.
If I were on the board out there, I'd say, you get 3 internal auditors to tell us we don't have a problem.
That's right.
And if we don't have a problem, then we've got it documented that we know we don't have a problem.
Yeah.
But if you get 3 internal auditors, and I'm talking about guys with credentials,
Mm-hmm.
and it's gonna cost a lot of money.
Well,
But it's not gonna cost $300,000 a day.
no, and it's not gonna cost near as much as we're losing.
That's
as
right.
yet.
That's right. So if the total cost of 3 internal auditors, the total fully absorbed cost is $150,000 a year apiece, with your benefits and everything, you hire them, you put them in there. If there's nothing wrong, hey,
We've just proven it.
yep, and the board can rest easier. Right now, I don't know how the board handles this at all.
Well, I don't think they carry it. That's been my experience over the years. These board members that get elected, they're on their way up, to mayors and presidents and the rest of this stuff. They get the swell head over there. And that's not the reason you're there, folks. That's to take care of the money from me and to hire a person who can provide me with what I need to provide an education to students. That's the bottom line.
And I'll tell you, not only is it taking money out of our pockets, we desperately need a community college in this town.
Sure.
And let's look at the unemployment rate, now that the Eagle Ford brief bubble has burst.
Right.
The unemployment rate, the illiteracy rate, the crime rate, I think that can all be related to the lack of education.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
look at the diabetes and diet and, what are we, the fattest in the country?
Fattest and the most
I
illiterate.
mean, that's education, folks. That's just basic education to tell people, hey, don't go there. You need to take care of yourself. And but yeah, it bothers me, and I'll just say this, at the lack of integrity that my administrators and my board of regents demonstrate to me and the general public.
Well,
It boils down to integrity.
it does. Integrity is everything. And I'll tell you, when you're told you've got documents and you don't have them, that's an integrity issue.
That's right.
I'm going to follow up with the state controller's office.
Good.
There are a lot of members there that are members of the fraud organization. They have certified fraud examiner
Right.
certificates. So I have joined as an associate member. I've joined that organization. So we'll see if we can't make some contacts with them
Right.
and help them understand how big a problem we think we've got down there.
Right. And I've joined the Freedom of Information Act of Texas, that Freedom Foundation of Texas. So I'm going to them to find out how much of the smoke screen I've got to put up with on my request for public information. And they've got a hotline to attorneys, and I'm going to start using it this week.
We've got a problem here. I'm convinced that we need to get independent people in here to look at it and figure out why we have a problem and help Delmar correct it. Whether it's the same employees or not, it doesn't matter to me. Delmar needs to correct that problem. And before we get that corrected, or before we can get the student decline in enrollment corrected, we're going to have to correct this.
Sure.
People aren't going to want to go to a school where there's problems like this going on,
Right.
and there's questions about the approach that school administration is taking to the integrity issue.
Right.
And I think that has been raised if not with all of this stuff, certainly with that $26.7 million
Oh,
quote.
yeah. Mhm.
And that did not go unnoticed in the news.
I mean, that's not only local, but that went statewide and possibly national.
Yeah, apparently that reporter was with the AP, so that
Right.
it may not be
That's
over
right.
yet.
No, it ain't over.
So I think we've got problems. I know we have some problems.
Mhm.
We're going to push hard to get the state controller in here
Mhm.
to see if he can't resolve this.
Right. Well, the easiest way that could have happened, Ed, was for the president of the school, and I told him his first week, second week he was here, after he was hired, and I was thrilled. I said, this guy's gonna be good for Del Mar College. I won't comment now. But he asked me about things, and I said, Mr. President, I said, you just need to learn one thing in life that my dad taught me, and this is what I did when I had big laboratories in industry and so forth and so on before I came to Del Mar College. And I had a lot of people working for me. But I said, my dad told me, and I learned real quick, if you've got a problem, you take everybody involved and you walk into a room, tell them to bring enough orange juice for breakfast and some lunch with soda if they want to do that, and possibly their dinner, and set everybody down and talk it out, work the problems out, find out what in the world's going on, and not let a single person leave that room until it's resolved. And then you don't have to go hire attorneys at $100,000 a year. But you obviously didn't listen to me. And a lot of this stuff that we're looking for could be done just sitting down with the president and Mr. Rivera again, and sit down and say, okay, what's the problem, folks? Let's resolve it. And if it only took 14 minutes the
I was
first
just
time.
saying, Augie took 14 minutes to go from 26.7 to a reasonable 0.
Yeah.
And maybe he's the only one with any sense.
Well,
But
I don't know.
he had sense that day, and he accomplished a great deal. If they need to bring him in, and there should be some meetings over there going on about this horrible, horrible mess.
Mhm.
If they're just ignoring it, I'm going to be appalled.
Well, and then we just need the PR person to make up her mind. Was this just something astronomical and out of unreasonable that Ed asked for with that? Or was it a gross mathematical error?
Because it's on tape, it's one or the other, it can't be both.
That's right.
Well, I think we've got problems. I think I know how to resolve them, but it's going to be through the state auditor's
Yeah.
office.
Well, when it comes to that, it's going to be very embarrassing.
And if this, well, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Who let careers get ruined by things like this?
That's right.
Well, Doctor, I guess we probably better sign off for the day.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for having me.
Thanks for all the information. Thank you for viewing. I will have my email address up there. If you have questions, comments, or any insights, please give me an email. Thank you.
Okay.